This is Sara Sach with Posh Pooch Designs. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a tuxedo bib for your dog or cat. Now, this is a great way to dress up your dog, cat, or any animal for any occasion without having to wrestle them or struggle with them to the ground to put on a sweater or an outfit, because it just slides right on over their head, right on top of their existing collar. And then when the party or the event is over, you can take it off and toss it in the wash machine. Really, really simple. And I'll also show you how to adjust it to larger size dogs. Now this one fits Rosie. She has about a 9-inch neck. And what you're going to need to make this is any kind of worsted weight number 4 yarn, or cotton will work as well. For today's demonstration, I'm going to use this off-white for the body of the little bib, and then I'm going to do all the details in this pretty pink. It's kind of a coral pink. These are both Red Heart Super Saver yarns. They work great. They wash up great. And we're going to be stitching with our H hook today. This is a 5mm hook. And we're going to be needing a needle for weaving in ends and for sewing on our bits and pieces. And of course, you'll need a pair of scissors. This is a free pattern on my blog. It's just called the Tuxedo Bib for dogs and cats and pets and any animal, because I'm going to show you how to adjust it for your size animal. So grab you up some worsted weight number 4 yarns in any colors that you want, and your H hook, and we'll get started. The first thing that you'll need to do is measure your dog's neck. Both Rosie and Maximo have about a 9-inch neck. And the way the pattern works is we'll do 3 chains per inch plus 3 chains. In other words, Rosie and Maximo's neck are both 9 inches. So 3 times 9 is 27. And then we're going to add 3 additional chains just for comfort. And so I'm going to begin with a total of 30 chains. So to chain my 30 chains, I'm going to start with a slip knot and then chain 30. I've chained 30 chains, and now I'm going to join this chain in a circle. And we need to be careful not to twist our circle. And I like to just lay it around like this, and then I can go right in that first chain with a slip stitch. And then I'm just going to chain 1. So there's my circle. And what we're going to do for this row is we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of these chains around. To stitch a single crochet, you're going to put your hook through that first chain and pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. And that's a single crochet. And we'll do this on each chain around, and that will give us 30 single crochets because we chained 30 and then we joined. So we're going to have 30 single crochets all the way around our row. So I single crocheted in each chain all the way around, and now I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and just chain 1. And those chain 1s do not count as a stitch. It just kind of holds it there where it needs to go. Alright, so on row 2, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet in the first 2 stitches and 2 single crochets in the next. And this is going to make the top of the collar kind of fan out just a little bit to make it comfortable to wear. Alright, so we're going to put 1 single crochet in the first single crochet. Then we'll put another single crochet in the next. And then the next single crochet, we're going to put 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. And we'll repeat this all the way around this row. So 1, 1, and then 2. One single crochet in the next, 1 single crochet in the next, and then 2 single crochets in the next. And you can see it's kind of fanning out a little bit, and that's going to give it a comfortable fit for your pet. We'll do this all the way around, and then we'll join back to this first single crochet with a slip stitch. 1 single crochet in the next, 1 single crochet in the next, and 2 single crochets in the next, and then repeat all the way around. This is how this row should look, and you should have a total of 40 single crochets on this row because we increased by 10 by adding that second one in the third one all the way around. And now we're going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch again and chain 1. Now we're going to begin the bib portion of our tuxedo bib. And the way this works is we're only going to be placing a half double crochet in half the stitches. If you added or subtracted chains, your stitch count will be different. Now I have 40 single crochets around, so I'm going to place 20 half double crochets because 20 is half of 40, and that's what you'll do to adjust it to the size that you're making. If you made it smaller, your counts will be smaller. If you made it bigger, of course your counts will be bigger. You'll just divide it in half, and that's how many half double crochets that we will make for the front of the bib. And yes, we are switching to half double crochets. All right, to make a half double crochet, you'll yarn over your hook, you'll go in the stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You'll yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. That's a half double crochet. And we're going to be placing 20 half double crochets because we have 40 single crochets, and we're only going to be stitching in half of those stitches. So just to repeat, I am stitching 20 half double crochets across, and then we'll turn and chain 1. I stitched 20 half double crochets. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of those 20 half double crochets that we just stitched. And what we're doing here is forming the front of our tuxedo bib. So we'll stitch 1 half double crochet and each half double crochet across. We'll chain 1 and we'll turn. I stitched another row of half double crochets, chained 1 and turned. So here's the front of our bib. Here's the back where we're not stitching. We're only stitching on the front in those 20 stitches, or half of the stitches if you changed bigger or smaller to make your bib bigger or smaller. And so what we're going to do for this size is we're going to do 4 more rows of half double crochet in each half double crochet so that we have a total of 6 rows. So 1 half double crochet in each half double crochet across, chain 1 and turn for 4 more rows so that we have a total of 6 rows of 1/2 double crochet in each half double crochet across and chain 1 turn. I've stitched 6 rows of half double crochet rows. Now, if you want your bib to be longer, because at this point we're going to be decreasing on the sides to make it go a little bit round. And so if you're making it for a bigger dog, or say a dog with a longer chest portion, you can do more rows of the half double crochet in order to accommodate that. If you're making it for like a great big dog, you're definitely going to want to put more rows in here. And you just have to take a chest measurement to see how much longer you need to make that. All right, so now we're going to begin the decrease rows. And the way we do that is we're going to be stitching the first 2 half double crochets together. And what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over. We're going to go in that first half double crochet and pull up a loop. Then we'll go in the next half double crochet and pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4. And what that did is it made 1 half double crochet out of 2 half double crochets. And then the rest of the row across we'll stitch half double crochets, and then we'll stitch the last 2 together. And this is how you will do any size that you do when you begin the decrease rows. So we'll have double crochet all the way across as we normally do, and then we'll stitch the last 2 half double crochets together. I stitched the rest of the row across with my half double crochets, and now I'm to the end of this first row where we're doing our first decreases, and I'm going to do it exactly the same way I did at the beginning. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to go in that stitch and pull up a loop, then I'm going to go in that last stitch and pull up a loop. Again, there's 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over and go through all 4 of those loops. We're going to chain 1 and turn. And then we're going to repeat this for 2 more rows. And this is going to just help the edges curl in. So yarn over, go in that first half double crochet, then go in the second half double crochet, yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. And then we're just half double crochet across just like we normally do, and then we'll stitch the last 2 on this row together again. And as we do this, you'll see that the edges are starting to curl in a little bit, and that just makes a nice rounded edge for our bib. All right, let's just stitch right across this row half double crochets. Y'all know this is my favorite stitch. I always say if a double crochet is too long or too tall, but a single crochet is too short, the half double crochet is just right. All right, so we have double crocheted across, and we're going to put the decrease stitch here, or it's also called stitching 2 half double crochets together. Yarn over, go in the stitch, pull up that loop, go in the last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all 4, chain 1 and turn. So we need to do it one more time. And then half double crochets across, and then we'll end with stitching those last 2 half double crochets together, or calling it a decrease stitch. They're both the same thing. And then we'll tie off, and then we'll make all the pieces and the bits to make a really cute tuxedo. Grab a little more yarn there. All right, we're almost to the end. Do our last stitching 2 together or decrease. And you can see the edges are nice and rounded. We'll go ahead and cut our yarn, and we'll weave in that end I'm going to use my hook right there. Just get it out of the way so you can see how that looks. And this is just a blank canvas, and we're going to make it look like a tuxedo. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make these little collar sections at the top of our collar. I'm going to set this one back aside. And the way we do that is we're going to join our yarn. Right here is where we have our band. And so what we're going to do is we're going to join right here so that we're right even with the edge on the first side there. Make a little slip stitch. And then we're going to make 7 single crochets. Now this is for the 9 to 10 inch dog neck. If your dog's neck is larger, you're going to need to make more single crochets because we're going to be making them so they sit in the center. And then we'll come back this way and start again and make the other side on this way. And you'll have to make sure that they're evenly placed on your tuxedo. Okay, so there's where I joined. So I'm going to place 1 single crochet in the next 7. This is the top of the beginning chain, so it's chains even though it's stitches. All right, let me make sure I got enough here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 more. Now at this point you need to fold it over, make sure it's nice and even. You'll probably have 1 in the center you won't use, 1 or 2, it's up to you, because we didn't use the first one over here. And we want it to be even so that the bow tie will sit right in the center. So if you made it bigger or smaller, make sure that you have the even number amount. All right, so we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. In this first single crochet, we're going to stitch a double crochet. So just in case, let me pull that back out. Just in case you're not sure what a double crochet is, you yarn over, you go in that stitch and pull up a loop. There'll be 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Then we're going to stitch 2 half double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. So there's a half double crochet, and then there's a half double crochet. Now this is the way that all of the sizes should be worked, because the last stitches, in this case we have 4 because we started with 7, but if you have more or less, your last stitches will all be single crochets. And there's my 4th. We're going to chain 1 and turn. All right. We're going to turn, and then we're going to place 1 single crochet in those first 4. And if you did more single crochets, make sure you have 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets. Then you're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in the next 2. So there's 1 and there's 2. And then in this double crochet, we're going to stitch a double crochet. And that's the first side of the collar. We're going to tie that off. And we're going to use our needle and make sure we weave that in good. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to go right back down in those stitches. I'm going to turn and go back the other way, and then turn and go back the other way. So make sure you leave yourself a little bit of yarn to weave the end in. Okay, and then we'll just cut that off. And that's one side of the collar. It's going to lay like this. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We'll line up, and what I do is I count 1 here because we're going to leave a space, And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure I'm all lined up. Join my yarn in. And then we'll make those 7 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. All right, there's my 7. Chain 1 and turn. Double crochet in that first single. Let's get some more yarn out here. Then we're going to place 1/2 double crochet in the next 2. 1, 2, and then 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chain 1, turn. 1 single crochet in the first 4. Now we're going to half double crochet, half double crochet, and end with a double crochet. Whoops, got to get right in that chain loop. There we go. And again, cut our yarn, weave in our end, or tie off and weave in our end. And this is how your collar will look. I took a minute and I tidied up my ends so I don't have anything to weave in. I did the bottom one and the one around the neck and up here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the trim. And it's really simple. And since I'm using pink as my second color instead of black, what you're going to do is you're going to join your yarn right here at the corner on the bottom of the back of the band. Pull your loop through, snug that down. There we go. And we're just going to place a single crochet working all the way around. We'll stitch across the back of this band, and then we'll stitch all the way around the front. And this will give us a nice contrast, but it'll also give us a really nice and neat finished edge. All right, let's get some more yarn out here. We're going to go around this way, just stitching 1 single crochet in each of the stitches around the back of the band. And then we're going to reach the side of the tuxedo bib. And so what you're going to do, you always hear the term single crochet evenly around. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to stitch in the sides of the stitches as best that we can. But sometimes you will have to put it in a hole. But you get a much neater look if you just stitch right in the stitch at the end of the row opposed to a hole. Like here, I'm going to go right in that stitch. And here I'm going to go in a hole. It's just however you want to work it. And you're going to have to eyeball it, because if you put too many single crochets, it gets bunchy. But if you don't put enough, it pulls. So it's kind of up to you and how many you want to put. And especially around the edges, make sure you put plenty so that it eases around and doesn't pull. And then when we get to the bottom, we can just single crochet right across in those stitches. And see, we've come around the back, we come down the side around this first corner, rounded corner, and now we're stitching across the bottom. And we're going to finish up the same way. We're going to go right up the side, putting stitches close together around the corner edge so that it lays nice and pretty. And it's up to you, like I said, however many you put in there, but just make sure you give it a nice finished edge. And then once we work the rest of the way up this side, we're going to join right here to that first single crochet that we started with. So I finished stitching up the side and around this last edge. I'm going to join to that first single crochet. Cut my yarn and tie off. And then we'll take a minute in a little bit and weave in those ends, because those need to be weaved in so they're nice and neat. But this is kind of how it looks. It should lay nice and flat if you put enough stitches around these corners. And of course, here's the collar. So the next thing we're going to make is we're going to make the button tab and then the bow tie. To make the button tab, I'm using my pinkish yarn again because I'm using it for my contrast. I'm going to make a slip knot and chain 15. Alright, so there's my 15. We're going to begin stitching in the second chain from the hook. There's the first one. We're going to go right in this second one and stitch a single crochet. And we're going to stitch one single crochet in each chain across, and that will give us 14 single crochets. Now, if you added more rows to your tuxedo bib, you may want to add more chains in order for the tab to reach all the way to the bottom. But it doesn't have to. It's up to you if you want it to. Because the tab is going to go the long way, not the other way. And I'll show you that in just a second. Alright, so here's our last single crochet. We're going to chain one. And then we're going to turn and place one single crochet in each single crochet across. And then when we get to the end, we're just going to tie off, and we're going to leave a tail about 12 inches long, 10 or 12 inches, and we're going to use that to sew it onto the front of our tuxedo bib. And then I'll also show you how to make those French knot buttons. Now, when we get to that point, if you want to use regular buttons, you certainly can. I just prefer the yarn ones because my dogs tend to be chewers of buttons, and just to keep it safe. But if it's just going to be on for a short time and you're not concerned about that, you can use real buttons, but we'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so I'm going to tie off, cut my yarn, tie off, and left myself a nice long tail. So here's our tuxedo bib. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that short tail that we started with, and we're going to go ahead and just weave that in so it's not in the way. And we're going to go one way and back the other, because we don't want that to be in our way when we're sewing. Alright, I'm just going to make sure that's nice and stretched out. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is we need to lay the tab right on the front of our bib. And you can use a pin or needle if you want to help you keep it in place. I usually just pin the bottom, making sure it's nice and centered, just so it stays put. And then we can put that right underneath in the center between the collars. Alright. Let me thread my needle. And now I'm going to center that. And what I do is I'll go ahead and sort of make some stitches on the top. And that just helps it stay put, to me, a lot better. So I go one way, then back the other. And then I'm going to hold it with my thumb. And I'm just going to make some stitches. Now I don't do a whole bunch of stitches. I just kind of go in and out. There's two reasons. I don't want it to be so tight that it gets pulled. So I want it to be a little bit loose, just going in and out on the edge. Because if it gets pulled, the stitches can break. You want it to have just a little bit of stretch because we're talking yarn here. All right, I'm going to go underneath. And then I'm going to come up right on the end. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and take out that pin. And then I'll make a few stitches across the bottom. So it stays put. There's my string where I weaved it in. I'll have to fix that. It's coming through a little bit. Alrighty, now I'm going to do the same thing and just stitch back up this other side. Just hold it with my thumb and just go in and out those stitches, remembering to stitch a little bit loose. And then to the back. And then we can just weave that in using some of those stitches on the back side. Came unthreaded. There we go. All right, now I still need to weave these two in, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So there's the tab. I'm going to keep my collar up there for a minute. And we're going to take some of this yarn, maybe about 12 inches or 14, and I'm going to show you how to make the French knots for the buttons. Now, like I said, if you want to use real buttons here, you certainly can. Just remember to sew them on nice and tight, and if you see your dog chewing on them, make sure you take them off. Not all dogs are chewers, so it's totally up to you. So we're going to leave a tail back here. We're going to pull our thread through here. We're going to take our needle and we're going to wind that around 4 times. Make sure you wind it a little bit loose and don't go back in the same hole. Go right next to it. I just shove that through with my thumb and then gently pull it to the back like that. And there's your first button. I'm going to make 3. Now you can make as many as you want. It's totally up to you. And make sure you leave room up here for the bow tie because we're going to put the bow tie up there. All right, there's my second button. And put my third one right there. Make sure I didn't grab my... Sometimes I sew through the back of this by accident, so I want to make sure I didn't grab that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and loose. There we go. One thing to remember is don't pull these through too hard or you'll end up pulling your little knot through. And then we're just going to weave that in the back. One way, then the other. All right, I'm going to take a couple minutes, go ahead and weave in these ends and this end, and then I'm going to show you how to make this bow tie, only my bow tie on this one is going to be pink. Okay, let's make the bow tie. Slip knot and chain 9. Now, if you're making your collar for a bigger dog and you want your bow tie to be wider, you can definitely add more chains here, because this one is only going to be 8 chains wide because we chain 9. And we're going to begin in that second chain from the hook and stitch 1 single crochet in each single crochet across, and that will only give us 8 single crochets. So if you want your bow tie to be bigger, you can chain more chains for a bigger bow tie. So we chain 9, 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and in each chain across gives us 8 single crochets. And now we're going to do 1 single crochet in each single crochet, chain 1 and turn for 4 more rows so that we have a total of 5 rows of single crochet. And again, if you made your bow tie wider, you may want to do more rows, and that will give you again a much bigger bow tie. Also keep in mind that the bow tie is at the neck of the tuxedo bib, and the dogs can grab that bow tie with their teeth if you make it too big. So just keep that in mind. When you're stitching up things for dogs, you have to remember that dogs love to chew and play, and they may get a hold of that. Alright, here's our 4th row. We just need to make 1 more row, and then we can make our bow tie and stick it onto our collar. I keep calling this a collar because when I first designed it, I called it a tuxedo collar. But I changed the name to a tuxedo dog bib. But it's the same thing. Alright, so there's my 5 rows of single crochet. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of yarn, about 12-14 inches. We're going to tie that off. We're going to take a second and weave in this small piece that's at the bottom where we started. And I go ahead and do this just because it gets it out of our way when we're trying to work. If you don't want to do it just yet, that's up to you. I just like getting it out of my way. Alright, I went one way, then back the other like I always do, and snip that off. Now we're going to thread the long piece onto our needle. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and out these stitches till I reach the center stitch. But make sure you don't pull this tight and pull that corner in, because you want your corner to still stick out. And we're just going to make a stitch here that's, I call it a stay stitch, just so that stays right there. Okay, so here's our bow tie. We're going to scrunch it together in the middle, and then we're just going to wrap that yarn around the center, just like that. Then we're going to take that string and make a couple of loops in the back to hold that. And now it's ready to go on to our tuxedo. So we're just going to take it, set it right there at the top. And I'm going to go down underneath it. And then I'm going to go right here between those two collars and go right through the top of that bow tie and do the same thing. And we'll just do that a couple of times because we want that bow tie to stay put. We don't want it coming off. We'll do this a few times. And then I kind of look at it, see if it's on there good. It's on good. And then I'll just make a couple of stitches in the back just to weave it in. And clip it off. Now, this is how it looks. Here's our bow tie. Here's our collar. Now we want our collar to go behind the bow tie. And if yours keeps sticking up, you can take your matching yarn and make a little stay stitch. Or you can spray it and get it wet and then just pin it down and then it will stay. It just needs to learn it has to stay there. So this is our little bow tie tuxedo bib for a dog or a cat or any pet. And like I said, they're a perfect way to dress up your pet without wrestling them to the ground to put on a sweater. And if you're looking for this on my blog, it's just called Tuxedo Bib for Dogs.